Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Krylov V Spann. Obviously, as you know, if you're listening to this, Krylov did not fight Spann on this card. It might get rescheduled, who knows, but this fight night kind of turns into a mini Muniz versus Allen card, but regardless of the point, it was an okay night of fights. Everything was pretty set. No one got robbed. A lot of close rounds, but it was a nice steady fight night that'll lead us into the card we're waiting for currently, which will be Jones versus Gon. It should be Gon versus Jones, but whatever. Whatever. I'm not gonna whine about he's not in the rankings, this and that, blah blah blah. They gotta market the card. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. So yeah, there's that. We'll go straight into the honorable mentions. There's no injustices. No one got robbed on this card. First honorable mention: Alves versus Aliev. I had this 28-28. This fight ended in a majority decision, but I had this 28-28. The first round, I put a close mark on it. It was actually pretty close in the first round. The last two rounds, it's an obvious 10-9 for Aliev, and a 10-9 I gave to Alves in the first. I'll explain in a second. And then the point deduction happened in the first, which makes it a 10-8 for Alves. In that very first round, Alves outstruck Aliev. This is a problem we keep coming across, which is fighters that want to take people down aren't doing enough on the ground. And then this happens where I don't know how this would have ended. I don't know how this round would have ended, but what we know is that Alves outstruck him on the feet. They get down to the ground where Aliev just holds him. Little to no ground and pound. The reason why I say little is because the shots that he had down there were maybe 3-4 body shots, just like pitter patter body shots. He then stops. He then continues to hold Alves. So in my head, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, he's still not winning. He's just holding his opponent down there. And then I got to hear the commentary go, yeah, it's probably, after the point take, it's probably 9-9. And I'm thinking, guys, just because he held him there doesn't mean he won, but whatever, we move on. He then proceeds to bite Alves. Now, on the replay, he probably bit him, right? He probably bit him. Because he did that thing where, he was trying to get his chin up and then put his arm underneath his chin. Instead, he puts his hand in his mouth. He gets bit. I don't know how to really feel about it. What I do feel, though, is the way these things get covered is insane. So on one hand, the commentary is questioning Mark Smith. Now, by the way, this isn't I hate Mark Smith. I love Mark Smith. I'm kind of neutral on Mark Smith, right? There's some things I like, there's some things I don't like. But Mark Smith is like, yo, he bit him. There's a bite mark there. Boom. The commentary is questioning whether he saw it or not. But then a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, we're still talking about Bueno Silva, how, yo, she subbed Egger. And in my head, I'm like, nobody saw that. But then Ron McCarthy's like, yeah, but I saw it. But we have every angle and nobody saw it. So anyway, we're just in a back and forth. He said, she said. But we'll move on. We'll go to the second round. Alves had a submission attempt. Wasn't in. Aliev had a takedown with ground and pound. That's his round. Third round, Alves had a submission attempt. Again, wasn't in. I think in the third round, this one was closer to being... I don't want to say closer to being in. It was more in than maybe the second round's takedown attempt. But Aliev reverse position, had ground and pound for basically the rest of the round. That's where you get 28-20 on my scorecard. Again, the first round's close. You can give it to Aliev if that's what you want to do, but I've been pretty consistent in how I scored these type of rounds. If you go through every single video, if you look through these type of rounds, depending on what happens in the round, I will score it mostly like this. If the person on top isn't doing anything. You can't get outstruck on the feet, get taken down, not do anything, and then proceed to then win the round. In very few cases that happens. But anyways, I had a 28-28. Go to the judges' scorecards. All right, and Adelaide Byrd, she gave the last 2 rounds to Aliev, and then the first round is a 9-9 with the point deduction. Junichiro Kamijo, the same thing. His scorecard reflects Adelaide Byrd. And then Ron McCarthy, his scorecard reflects mine, which is he saw what I saw. He was a 10-8 with the point deduction to Alves, and then the last 2 rounds go to Aliev. So that's where you get the majority decision. Next honorable mention is Osbourne versus Johnson. This was a really nice fight. This ended in a split decision. I gave the last 2 rounds to Johnson. I gave the first round to Osbourne. The second round is very close. I mean, the strikes are pretty close. There's a lot of missing. There's a lot of strikes that are missing. They're kind of hitting each other. They're kind of trading strikes. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened in that second round. But you go to the first round, and in that second round, Osbourne outstruck Johnson. There was this part in the first round where Osbourne was up on strikes, hilariously up on strikes on Johnson, and then Johnson proceeds to get a takedown, land some shots, kind of like hit the back of, kind of knee Osbourne's leg, lands a little bit of ground and pound, but it's not enough. It's not like he just blitzed him and then took back all the strikes that were dished on him. He just kind of has like a little mini burst, but he still loses the round. It's definite that he loses that round. You go to the second round, it's close on the feet, but you give the edge to Johnson. He's kind of hitting the better shots. Osbourne had a takedown, but Johnson gets back up immediately, so it's almost like you count the takedown, but you don't really count it. It's one of those, it's not like he had him down there for an extended amount of time to where we would give him the round. But it's close on strikes. Johnson had like the better shots. Osbourne had the takedown, did absolutely nothing with the takedown, and that round for me goes to Johnson. Very close round. You can argue it for either person, honestly. You then go to the third round where Johnson outstruck Osbourne for sure. Osbourne had 2 takedowns, but again, he did nothing with the takedowns. He kind of just put Johnson down there, Johnson got back up. Put Johnson down there, Johnson got back up. But it was obvious that Osbourne was getting outstruck in this round. In this round, there was a lot of missed shots. They were super tired to where they would throw combinations and 7 of them would miss. 2 would land, but Johnson's strikes were the ones landing more frequently. Hence why I have it 29-28 for Johnson. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Junichiro Kamijo has a 29-28 for Johnson. His scorecard reflects mine. And then you have Krylov, who gives the first round to Osbourne, and then the last round he gives to Osbourne. I disagree with this. I really disagree with the last round giving it to Osbourne. I know. By the way, all 3 judges had the second round for Johnson, so maybe it wasn't a close round in their mind. Maybe they were just like, okay, we saw whatever. But in my mind, it's a close round. Krylov and Anthony Manis, both of their scorecards reflect each other, where they give the first and the third round to Osbourne. I disagree with that third round. I really don't believe Osbourne won that round. Maybe they're taking into the accounts that they think the strikes were close in the third round and then the 2 takedowns. Maybe. But in my head, he was getting outstruck enough, and those 2 takedowns don't really come into account. So that's just me. I won't really go honorable mention here. It's one of those weird close fights. So there. You go to the next honorable mention, which is Jasudavicius versus Fernandes. Okay, I had this 30-27 for Jasudavicius. In that first round, Fernandes outstruck Jasudavicius on the feet. It wasn't by much, but she outstruck her on the feet by a little bit. And then Jasudavicius had a takedown with a little bit of ground and pound for about 2+ minutes. That wins her the round. You go to the second round, Jasudavicius had a takedown with ground and pound for 2+ minutes. Okay, and then Jasudavicius in the third round had a takedown with 3+ minutes with ground and pound. I'm going to say I think she did a lot more ground and pound. Maybe I have to rewatch it. I won't. She had, just off my recollection, she had more ground and pound in the third round than she did in the second. But when I look at the judges' scorecards, it's a little weird because I disagree with this. I'm not going to give an honorable mention. All three were just feeling this way, I guess. But Chris Lee, David Letheby, Ron McCarthy, they all had a 30-26 for Jasudavicius. They all gave the second round a 10-8 for Jasudavicius. I don't see what they were. I didn't see what they were saying. There wasn't a point in my head that was like 10-8 territory. Weird. This is the same. When I see this kind of stuff, I feel like I remember that one fight. I forgot what it was. Blanchfield versus that one girl. I forgot her name, but that one girl where I think she finishes her, or I think she beats her, but they gave her like a 10-8 in one of those rounds, and I wasn't feeling that. But anyways, there's that. You go to the next and last honorable mention, which is the main event of the night by substitution, and that's Muniz versus Allen. This fight ended in a submission win for Allen in the third round. In the first round, it's actually really close. It's very close. As I'm watching, I'm counting the strikes, and I'm like, this is even on strikes. The only thing you can go off of is who has the better shots, in my opinion. And I had Muniz. I gave a 10-9 to Muniz in the first round, and then a 10-9 to Allen in the second round. Allen was obviously pretty clear. In that first round, close on the feet with the edge to Muniz. Muniz in the third round was close on the feet again, but Allen gets. I wanted to put Allen gets a takedown, but Muniz got it. This is my problem with this. I don't want to write Muniz gets a takedown because it's not a takedown because he rolls into a reversal. So I wish it would just be Allen gets a reversal. That's how I want to write it because it's not really a takedown because he didn't establish position and hold him for a little bit. But I'm just going to say what I was saying before. Muniz puts him down, and Allen quickly gets a reversal and then proceeds to stay there for the rest of the round and have ground and pound. And that's what wins him the second round. We go to the judges' scorecards where, again, the first round was close. Chris Lee, his scorecard reflects mine, which he gives a 10-9 to Muniz in the first, and then a 10-9 to Allen in the second. And then David Letheby and Ron McCarthy give both the first and the second round to Allen. And there you have it. That's all we got. Okay, night of fights. We're going to get ready for the John Jones Gane fight, and we'll see what happens. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.